with management. As you know, Phil kind of re-retired in April, although he's been available to us for continued consultation in the meantime. But we have identified a successor for Phil, and an agreement will be coming to you next week on consent from to contract with PMC, Pacific Municipal Consultants. They are the same group that's doing the general plan update, but this is a separate contract, and they will not have management over their own contract. So we are making sure that those two things are bifurcated. But Phil and I had an opportunity to interview an individual who has extensive planning experience both throughout the country in a variety of areas, urban and rural, as well as in a variety of topics. So both Phil and I were very impressed with her resume, and she's also been a college-level teacher in that arena. So the funding for this contract with PMC will come from salary savings from the chief planner position being vacant, and we hope to have her on board within the next week. And that will really help things go along because, you know, Phil's been here and there, but he hasn't been present every day as he had been in the past, and it's important to have that continuity of management. So, and in the meantime, we are going to continue to seek a full-time chief planner as an actual staff position. Over the next several weeks also, we are going to be bringing forth contract augmentations that will take us through the end of the general plan update process and the Ukiah Valley area plan process. So those will be on consent, and they will take us through to the end. And I'll refer to a couple of those as I go forward. So now what I want to do is focus on the big 5 projects, which are general plan, Ukiah Valley area plan, housing element, Mendocino town plan, and the local coastal plan update. We will have actual timelines that will be issued and put on our website by the end of June, but what I'm going to give you are the next several months worth of the commitments in those areas. So I'm going to start off with the general plan. And accomplishments in the area of the general plan this last year were that we completed the Countywide Planning Commission hearings for input on the draft plan. And I don't know if you recall, a year ago we were thinking, oh, maybe 2 Planning Commission meetings on that. And in point of fact, they really, I think after expressing some skepticism about how much they wanted to be involved, they rolled up their sleeves and had a series of meetings. I think it ended up being 6 to 8 meetings over that June to August, September period. And then there have been periodic meetings since then. We completed the draft water policies and the draft energy policies, and both of those are identifiable, although they are not considered separate elements. They will be indexed so that they can be grouped together, and they will also be kind of throughout the document. So we'll have it either way for people to be able to read through them. We, and that includes you, processed 52 land use amendment applications, and I think that was a very orderly process, and that will be included in the final general plan. And obviously they've begun work on the administrative draft plan and the draft EIR, and that's what they're working on at this point in time. I also want to acknowledge that criticism, I guess I'll call it, that has been received actually fairly consistently on the general plan, because there was an elongation of the amount of time that this original draft has been kind of in circulation. That original draft was, I guess, I mean, it predates me and the planning team, but it was originally issued, I think, in like 2005, I think, or 2004 actually. And there were a series of community meetings throughout the county. And then things were kind of put on hold for a while, pretty much through all of 2005. And then in 2006, late, is when the planning team was created and picked up the process again. So there was a long period of time where nothing was happening on it. That same draft was still out there, but people felt like they had given input through these community meetings, and they weren't seeing it reflected in another draft that came out. Well, that's because normally what you do is you'd have those community meetings, then you'd have the planning commission hearings, and then that's when you would do your full draft. If you do it in pieces, basically, you end up with a process that's going to take 2 to 3 times as long. So I want to acknowledge that there was a gap in time prior to the planning team's involvement where nothing happened on it, and the draft that is available is a stale draft. That said, where we are now is we've completed the planning commission meetings, we've completed the meetings with you where you gave direction to roll these things forward into the draft, and we expect that the draft general plan update and the draft EIR will be issued at the beginning of July. So that's the time frame. So now I'm going to shift into the timelines from here on out. We've got one more piece kind of pre-draft, and that is the Anderson Valley Local Alternative Plan, and for that, a Planning Commission meeting has been added, and that is happening on June 5th. That's this Thursday. And then June 6th, the planning team is meeting with PMC and the traffic folks from Dowling consultants to really kind of say, okay, here's how we're putting all this together and moving on. So it's kind of like the last big meeting before we get to the draft being released in July. And